Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to this week's edition of Sedaru Live. This week, we're coming to you to talk about Sedaru's enterprise asset management solution for the water utility. My name is Dylan McFeatris, and I'm the product market manager here at Sedaru. As usual, I'll be the MC for today's session, and I'm really excited today because we got a little A-list attendee guest group with me today. You're used to seeing one of these two professionals with me, but today I've got them both. So I'm going to hand it off to Kevin for a little introduction, and then we'll get moving.
All right.
Kevin.
Hey, so thanks guys for joining today. My name is Kevin Koshko. For those of you who do not know me, I serve as head of products here at Sedaru. As a little background, I've been in the water space since college, so for about 20 years now. And yeah, I actually got my start with an engineering contractor doing work like valve exercising and hydrant testing and meter changeouts. So our company was like a water district for hire. And then through all that experience, built out a field data collection software system and really got a lot of hands-on and integrations. So integrations with CMMS systems, different work order systems, also different types of machinery. So hydraulic valve machines, even meter testing devices, and different types of business systems throughout my career. And then in joining Sedaru, taking that kind of to the next level with our Sedaru platform. So very excited to be here today. Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Andrew, would you give a little introduction of yourself as well?
Sure, yeah, thanks, Dylan. So my name's Andrew Hargreaves. I'm a solutions architect here at Sedaru. Much like Kevin, I've been in this business for the past 20 years or so. But my path was sort of the opposite of his, which is that I started out more with the sort of the technology, the software, the data, and the GIS side of things. And over the past couple of years, I've got more and more hands-on with the field work side of it. Again, doing some of the same work that he mentioned there, out in the field, valve exercising, meter installs, and sort of understanding the dynamics of what you're asking somebody to do when you collect data, but also to do that standing out there in the field. So taking that experience, coupling it with Kevin's, and again, sort of bundling all of that into the Sedaru platform so that we can help field personnel out there in the street, and we can help office folk back in the office understand what's happening.
Great, thank you, Andrew. And I prefer to remain a man of mystery in this case, but I do have 15 years of experience in the utility space. I worked for a large CIS provider, as well as doing some EAM work for them. So my experience is mostly on the billing, customer service, and meter side, and try and leverage that a little bit and not look like too much of an idiot when we're talking about some of this stuff today. So glad to have you with us, and hopefully we'll give you guys some entertainment and some real value out of your day today. All right, let's hop into the agenda. We got a bit of a different agenda than some of our other webinars. We have so much ground to cover. We're pretty excited to show you a whole bunch of different stuff today. So we're going to forego the poll questions this time. We just did our little intro and welcome. We're going to talk about the drops continuum here in a few minutes, which is the path to utility automation. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Sedaru applications, integrations, our expertise, the platform we're going to be showing you today. And then we're going to do a nice long demo for you covering a lot of ground. There's really more for us to show than we could possibly show in an hour. So we're going to give you some highlights, try and make sure we cover some different aspects of the system, some different integrations, and really kind of give you a good understanding and flavor for what Sedaru can bring. At the end, we'll do a little bit of an overview of the solutions that we presented today, and then will be time for question and answer. We very much would appreciate questions for that session if possible. So please use your Zoom controls at the bottom of your screen and submit a question at any time. We will likely defer all of those until the end, but we would appreciate there being a nice queue of questions there when we get there. So with that, guys, we're going to hop right in. Okay, so what I want to introduce here is one of the concepts that we use at Sedaru to talk about the journey that your utility makes. What I've always, shown here is the drops, the DROPPS. It's really a continuum from the left to right of the growth the utility goes from. We were joking around earlier today that really there should be a P before this, which is paper-based, which a number of utilities out there are still dealing with either across the whole enterprise or in small groups. We recognize that that is where a lot of people are. You know, at Sedaru, our goal is to move people through this continuum through our different products and our platform. And what you'll find is that most of our customers start off in the DRO area and slowly move into the other aspects of the system as they implement new workflows and additional functionality. So one of the other things that we like to talk about when we talk about drops is how the different applications here being shown at the bottom interact and how they bring the different aspects of it. So, you know, one of the things we're going to spend some time on here in just a second is talking to you about the platform and the different applications we have. So I'm going to kind of skip those right now, but you know, our goal at Sedaru is to help people on this journey, right? This is not an easy journey necessarily. You don't just hop into self-driving. There's data requirements, there's integration requirements, there's training, there's workflows, all kinds of things. But what we try and do here is to bring it to you in a turnkey solution such that you can implement it quickly and start to move down the path, and we can assist you with that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin here to talk a little bit about the different products in our platform suite, and then we'll go ahead and talk about integrations and then move right into the demonstration. So Kevin, can you take it away?
Will do, yeah. So this is our product overview, and really there's 7 core components to Sedaru. So we have Omni, which is Operations Management and Network Intelligence. Basically what we're talking about here is this is the office tool that most people will use for dispatching, monitoring, tracking, trending, reporting on all things related to their system. So whether you're using it for water distribution, sewer collection, public works, or other, this is that place where you'll have kind of that full view of your system. Andrew will be showing that upcoming here in our demo. And then of course we have Fieldforce. That is our field data collection component used on an iPad, iPhone, Windows tablet device, or laptop. And this is where you can actually do that field data collection. There's a number of inputs and integrations as part of that, including a WOX valve machine, for example. So we'll definitely talk to the Fieldforce application in our demonstration as well. Then we also have Sedaru Outage. The main user of this is going to be the larger utilities that are dealing with multiple breaks, leaks, and planned outage events. So this is a start to finish application that allows you to manage that from the time a customer call comes in to the time that the repair is made and those valves are open and closed in order to support that. We have Sedaru Modeling, which is our what if scenario and planning tool that allows you to perform a number of things that doesn't require necessarily a whole lot of training and for you to be a modeling expert to get value out of the hydraulic model that you've invested in. We have Sedaru CIP, which is our capital improvement planning tool. This allows you to take inputs from all the different platform components, from field data, from work order data, from pipeline data and rehabilitation data, leaks and other sorts of events, and then prioritize your pipeline replacement, whether that's water or sewer pipes. That includes likelihood of failure, consequence of failure, eases of construction, and paving as part of that. And then our ops tool is designed really for water operators, for them to be able to leverage a real-time hydraulic model to understand alerts, alarms, and other types of activities, giving them more of like a SCADA view into their system and leverage any sort of scenarios that might require some future prediction. And that includes energy. There's also a water quality tracer component, which is extremely powerful. Lastly, we have Sedaru Connect. Really, that's the platform and the integration components that tie everything together. This is going to bring in any business system that a utility has, pull that data, and then unify it into the Sedaru platform.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. So I wanted to take a minute just to talk a little bit about the integrations that we have across the system. You know, you mentioned the valve turning machine from WOX. So there are some software integrations, some hardware integrations, some data integrations we wanted to talk to here. So just wanted to kind of talk about these in general to explain the kind of the breadth of the platform.
Right. So if you look at some of the more common integration points, so you have GIS, and this is things like editing your layers and feature services, managing attachments, but really incorporating your geospatial information into the platform. We have SCADA and sensor integration as well. So from the SCADA side, we're pulling in things like tank levels or pump station pressures or other types of in-network SCADA type of tags that we would want to collect and then display those to the users. And then we also have our sensors. So this is things like pressure monitoring, transient detection, leaks, and being able to pinpoint those and display those within the Omni platform as well.
Awesome. A couple more here with valves and 811, Kevin.
Yeah, so this is kind of more out in the field type of components. For valves, we have direct integration with a hydraulic valve turning machine to allow you to control the machine, record the turns, torque, and direction, as well as any sort of metadata associated with that. So pretty powerful. And then, of course, with 811, call before you dig, we have a national footprint of most of the 811 centers. This auto assigns tickets based on the emails that come in, provide automated positive response, just tons of time saving for a pretty practical use case. Yeah,
it's a great point solution. And then we got a little bit on the meters and the CIS side. So
yeah. So with meters, that's integration with AMI, AMR. We're talking about things like if we have events such as a reverse flow event or a intermittent leak. So being able to track, monitor those types of events, but also in change out. So more of the practical things, with changing out meters every 15 years or so, keeping track of that process and doing it in a way that's easy for supervisors and field staff to take care of. And then, of course, from the CIS side, this is where we're integrating with a customer information system for service orders, high water bill complaints, anything related to the customer service system, that being able to be viewed within Omni in the context of other events that might be taking place, maybe hydrant flushing, so we can correlate that between a water quality complaint, but then also being able to easily dispatch that out to the field so they can run their investigation, perform their work, and then send that data back into the CIS.
Yeah, and so that one segues really well into the last one too, Kevin, because in both of these cases, we're talking about systems that have either service orders or work orders that we want to kind of mesh with the Sedaru side. So CMMS.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this is one, there's a lot of utilities out there that have invested a lot into an existing work order system. So within Sedaru, we're able to fully support that and provide, a very optimized user experience around that to really improve the usability and adoption of that system that was put in place. In addition to that, which is also very powerful, if a utility does not have a CMMS system, Sedaru can serve as a turnkey computerized maintenance management system as well, managing work orders, tasks, labor, material, equipment costs, and everything related.
Yeah, so just wanted to kind of show that, there's a lot of different integrations here, right? Data, other software systems, direct hardware configurations as well. Really a lot of things kind of baking into what we're about to show you today. So as a good segue here, we're going to talk about some of the core applications. Andrew's going to give us a little bit of a heads up on his demo. But really, as Kevin said, we're going to be showing off Omni, which is the kind of office version of this with the, the ability to see, track, trend, report, all that stuff. We're going to get into the field data mobile collection with Fieldforce. And then, as we mentioned, all those integrations, the reason we're bringing those up is that Sedaru Connect is the kind of in the background application making all that possible. So Andrew, you want to give us a little overview of your demo and then we'll hop right in?
Sure, yeah. Can I hijack the screen here just quick?
Absolutely, yeah, you certainly can.
All right. So as we said, we want to start with Sedaru Omni here. Omni is our browser-based interface, so usable anywhere where you can get an internet connection. Really designed more for the office and for some of those practices that Kevin spoke about. So tracking, trending, assigning out work, and used by managers, dispatchers, supervisors. And if you ask Kevin, then Kevin will say that, well, this Omni stands for Operational Management Network Intelligence. But I like Omni because it makes me feel omnipotent wherever I am inside of my utility, right? I can see everything that's happening at a single glance. So this can be my one-stop shop that I could switch on at any point during the day and I can get an instant state of play as to what's happening out there inside of my utility. So we talked a little bit about integration with 811. That's one of the first things that I can see here up in the top left-hand corner. And it's important, and it's there because it helps me with that emergency management piece. Okay, it helps me triage and prioritize my emergency tickets in this case. So I can see those front and center. I can decide how I want to prioritize that work and who I want to assign that out to. And like Kevin hinted at when he talked about 811, that's really sort of being powered and passed into Omni through Sedaru Connect in the back end, intercepting 811 emails, but it's doing a lot of the hard work for us. So I can see I have emergency tickets here. I have non-emergency tickets here. If I go and I look at some of these, I can not just see where they are because Sedaru Connect has mapped out or plotted out that area that my crews need to go out and mark up, but it can also automatically assign people to a ticket based on where that ticket falls. So we can have just a list of names and it could go to one or many of those names. Or if we cut our service area in two and maybe just a certain set of names operate in the northern half, if this ticket falls in that northern half, then those names are going to be assigned to it automatically for us. So again, Sedaru Connect can do a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes and sort of take out some of the mundane tasks and make life a lot easier for us. And I can see it in operation here inside of Sedaru Omni. Now, if I move on down the line, you can see that I've got some other metrics here. Again, I can see information about what kind of work was handed out this morning. Maybe it was me who was doing that dispatching work, or maybe it was Dylan, and I'm just the boss. Then I come in later on, get my cup of coffee, and I can see what's already planned for the day. So I can see that we've got just over 100 things hanging out there, ready to get going, ready to do. I can see what they are and whose names are assigned against them. I can therefore also easily use this to rebalance or reassign some of that work. So if somebody in that list of names is off today because of vacation, or they're sick, or they're trapped in a snowstorm like we are here, then I can remove them from the list, or I could add another name in order to sort of add to the ranks and get some of this work done on time here. Okay, so the other thing that I can do along that same line that we talked about with Sedaru Omni is, Sedaru 811 is I can sort of set a recurring feature here. So if for some reason I have the need to constantly return to a particular asset or a group of assets, I can set a recurrence value to take some of the hard work out of that for me. So I'm going to pick a hydrant right here, and I'm going to create a work order just quick. Now, if for some reason I should have picked one on a dead end street that maybe we have to come to once every couple of weeks in order to flush and maintain water quality, but I can set this task up once. I can assign it to Kevin and others, but I'll just let it fall to Kevin for right now. I can put some additional information in here. I could change the priority, so it could be more important or less important. But most importantly, I can set this recurrence value right here. Okay, so like I said, this could be a daily thing. Maybe we have to come here every day, or maybe we only want to come here every 2 days, or let's say every 5 days. When do I want this to start? Maybe I don't want Kevin to start this task until the beginning of next month. I could put that start date in there, and it's not going to show up on his to-do list until that day. And I could put an end date in here, that maybe I want him to go there every 5 days for 3 months or something like that. Or I could just leave it blank and just have it sort of continually respawning itself into his work order list. And of course, I have other frequencies here. So maybe I only want him to go every week or every 2 weeks. He could go on a particular day of the week. Or of course, he could go monthly, or maybe every 3 months. So you can see how this can come in really helpful for other workflows. If you have to have regular reporting needs around, let's say, sample collection for someone every quarter, you can set up a work order so that every 3 months, maybe on the first of that month, you can have a work order pop up and have somebody go to a sample site, take that sample, and make sure that you're in compliance. And of course, we could set this to be yearly as well, which is beneficial for, let's say, I don't know, valve turning, something like that. So, Kevin, I'm going to ask you to go there every week. And I know that you like to go there on a Saturday morning.
Yes.
So we'll send you there, and we'll create that work order, and off you go. Okay.
So that's cool, Andrew. And then so basically you're able to just create like a PM schedule, right from there. So, and then I'm assuming you can select a bunch of different assets, or like maybe a neighborhood, or a pressure zone or other, and that can be kind of a cyclical recurring PM from here on out, right?
Exactly. So a strong part of Sedaru OMNI here is that it'll take care of that routine day-to-day maintenance once that's set up. But then on top of that, like we've said here, right, you're going to have these other needs pop up in between the day-to-day that are also important, and you also have to take care of. So if we've replaced a line and we need to regularly flush it for a week or two in order to make sure that it's safe, we can set up a recurring work order like this, and then have that finite date of 2 weeks from now where it disappears. But the other stuff, the day-to-day stuff, keeps going in the background and never goes away. So we're able to sort of manage and maintain work at a number of these different priority levels, all through Sedaru OMNI here.
Very cool.
Moving along, you can see that we've got some more complex information than just how much work have we assigned or how much work have we undertaken. We talked a little bit again about Connect and about tying it to SCADA systems. We also talked about other pieces of the Sedaru platform, like Sedaru Outage, which help you manage main break events, whether they be a planned outage and a shutdown, or an emergency situation. And we can use Omni to sort of gather metrics from that other part of the Sedaru platform and help you with your reporting needs here. Okay, so we have some information about gallons lost from leaks over the past 30 days or so. Now we can see where these leaks are individually as well, because these are managed and maintained through Sedaru Outage, like we said. But the intent of Sedaru is to unify the utility. So we want to be able to bring all of that information into this one place where you can get at it, and not just get at it, but make sense of it. So present it and slice it and dice it in a way that helps you. So here we can see what we've spilled on the street from leaks over the last 30 days, and we could kick that out as a report and submit that as part of our reporting requirements. And we'll see a little bit later on about how we can replicate that that need once we get to Sedaru Fieldforce and be doing some field work. But I have some other metrics in here. And again, I can let Omni do the hard work for me, so I can take some of that leak information and I can slice it even more fine than we had just before. So now I can see how much of those 33 million gallons were attributed to a particular pipe, or a particular pipe size, or material, or any kind of combination that I want. In this case here, I'm looking at 6-inch and smaller pipes over that same 90-day window, and I can see that about a third of my loss through those breakages are coming from 6-inch and smaller pipes. So maybe that's information that I want to dig into. I want to understand. I can pass that into CIP. We can understand how many miles of 6-inch or smaller main we have, how old those things are, where they are, and if there's any kind of correlation with where these leaks are occurring. So again,
Andrew, sounds like we should tell our sales reps to call up on Sedaruville and sell them CIP. 33 million gallons seems like a lot.
well, yeah. I mean, we'll see again, right? We'll see a little later on about how that reporting gets all the way sort of round trip through Fieldforce and back again, because especially out west, reporting what you've spilled or lost onto the street as part of either a break or just regular routine operations is a huge component of a job. Okay, you need to report that information back, and you need to be accurate for it, or you can get yourself in serious trouble. And it's a headache. It's a headache to collect. It's a headache to collate. It's a headache to make sense of. So again, let Sedaru OMNI do some of that heavy lifting for you and just sort of have it at the touch of a button here. Okay, I'm going to move over. We have our tanks tile over here. So again, going back to this idea of using Sedaru Connect to sort of integrate with third-party SCADA systems and bring that information to the fore, we can see some of those metrics that Kevin talked about. I can see tank levels. I can see flow levels inside of my tanks. I can see when a tank is low. I can see when there's high or low chlorine inside of a tank. So I could have an alarm go off. I can have something flash on Omni, or I could have a bunch of work orders automatically created and assigned to ask Dylan to jump in a truck and go down there and make sure that everything's okay and as it should be. Okay, so we have this increasing level of complexity with how we can use Sedaru Omni. We can use it sort of at a very simplistic level to just assign out work, see where that work is, and understand that work. We can use it to help manage some of the mundane day-to-day operations about we have to go here every day or every week or every month and make sure that we don't forget to do that. But then we can also get a lot more tactical around things too, which is pulling in information from other sources in order to help sort of widen our vision and understand what's happening out there. And then also to collect that information back from the field as we do some of that work. So we're going to jump out into the field in a minute with Sedaru Fieldforce. We're going to do a bunch of assigned work and inspections to us. But the results of whatever it is that's captured out there with Sedaru Fieldforce make this round trip back into Omni so we can begin to see some of this operational data that our field crews, who are really our eyes and ears on the street for us, are capturing out there. So for example, how many hydrants that we've assessed are inoperable in this case? Or if we move over to our valves, how many of these things are leaking? Okay, so I'm going to jump over to Sedaru Fieldforce and take us out into the field, if that's okay with everybody here.
You're going to change your background from the office to the field, Andrew?
No, not these days. I'm going to multitask and try to get my iPad up here, though. Here we go. This looks good. But I am going to talk about not backgrounds, but background maps or base maps. So a quick little tour of Sedaru Fieldforce. Here I am. I'm on an iPad, but Sedaru Fieldforce can also work on a Windows device out there in the field. And again, as Kevin and I said in our intros, a big passion of ours is making sure that field workers and personnel are comfortable and using an appropriate tool in the field to help collect a lot of this valuable information, sometimes under pretty challenging circumstances, okay? So like any other tool, you want it to be comfortable in your hand. So we can sort of modify Fieldforce a little bit to look and feel however we want. So if I tap that little layers button down at the bottom, I can not just turn layers on and off in my map to make it look less cluttered or to see a level of detail that I want to see, but I can also change the background mapping here. So maybe I don't want to see this imagery. Maybe I just want to see something nice and simple, like a streets layer here. Or maybe if you're in more sort of mountainous or terrain areas, you want to see something with some kind of terrain attached to it. Of course, there's nothing there for you to see because it's flat as a pancake. Or if you're working the swing shift and you're overnight, then of course you could pick something like a nice dark vector layer here as you're riding around inside your truck using Sedaru Fieldforce to help get you to wherever it is you need to go. So you can make Fieldforce look and feel just how you want. You can also use it to help get where you want to, okay? So of course we could do something like use that little GPS button in the bottom left there to figure out where I am. Or I could do something like search for a particular asset in order to zoom to it and find it and navigate my way there. But of course, a big part of what we do out there in the street isn't just searching for streets, but also searching for, most often than not, the intersection of two other streets. So that's what we can do here, okay? I've got two street names in here, and I can hit that search button and I can go for it. And of course, I don't need to actually type too much in here because Fieldforce is smart enough to understand the city and the state that I'm in. So I don't need to add that to the end. I can just go and I can search my location, put in my intersection name, and I can zoom to exactly where I want to get to quickly and easily, okay? So intersection search is something that a lot of our field workers asked for. We've wrapped it into the latest version, and we really like to take notice of the feedback that we get from our customers. So
And
now that we're a little bit
Andrew,
more, yeah.
I just wanted to let you know, I think you're a saint.
Yeah, it's I moved, I brought us to this place because I actually like the I like the little football stadium that you can see right there. But of course, I'd already switched my map and I forgot to see it. But there you go. Okay, cool little part of town. All right, we're a little bit more comfortable with Fieldforce now. We understand some of the basics about it. So let's start digging into some of the work that we have to do. Okay, we talked a lot about 811 and about the sort of triaging and emergency piece of assigning that work out from Omni to Fieldforce. Well, here is some of that work. Okay, I can see up there in my dig ticket tile that I've been assigned a couple of things to do, and we can see where they are. I can see where I've got to search out. This is where the aerial imagery comes in helpful, right? So I can see that little circle that I got to search out and mark up. And I can see all of that information that's pulled in and parsed out of that email that Sedaru Connect intercepts and on our behalf. So I have all of that information available to me right here in a nice, easily digested format. And I can go off and I can do this form. And more importantly, I can send back a positive response. So if you're a positive response state and you're required to submit something back to your 811 or call before you dig vendor, then that's automated in the workflow with Sedaru Fieldforce here. So as soon as I record whatever it is that I find in the street or whatever action that I've taken, and I hit the save button, not only am I saving a record back into Sedaru, but I'm also sending that positive response back to whomever my 811 vendor is. Okay, really easy, really simple, but really cool. Okay, I'm going to move over to our pumps tile here, and I'm going to use this as an example of just a quick little simple form to show you, firstly, how this info panel on the right-hand side works. So I can see all of the work that I've got assigned to me here, okay? And I'm going to pick a safety check form. So first things first, we have this nice new layout inside of Sedaru Fieldforce. So I can see all of the information about the asset that I've selected, in this case, a pump. I can easily and quickly see that I've got some work assigned to me under that work orders panel. And so I'm going to jump there and I'm going to jump into that form. It takes me directly to the form that I need to. I don't have to go hunting for the appropriate form or workflow. And my point in this simple little form is just to show you some examples of one, how we can use Fieldforce for things like production rounds or pump inspections. It's not all about valves and hydrants or meter workflows. You can very much use Fieldforce inside of your facilities to go and do safety checks and that kind of thing. But you can see here that we're also intent on making life simple for you by pre-populating some of these answers if possible. So it's got my name in here because I'm logged in. It knows who I am. It's got my supervisor's name in here. And I can show you that I can very quickly and simply tap here just with a finger to make sure that I can get the answer. Okay, we working with field workers for a long time, like Kevin and I have, we inevitably come across the fat finger problem, okay, where people will say, hey, you know, I'm trying to use this device in the field, but I got fat fingers, and whenever I try to type, it just looks like gobbledygook, or I tap something on the map and I can never get the appropriate asset. I just keep banging away at the thing and never get what I want. This is all feedback that we take into account. And so again, we've designed Sedaru Fieldforce to be simple and easy for you to use out there, okay? A great example of this is when it comes to something like a comments box like this. I don't have to tap away at the keyboard. I can hit that little dictation key and I can just talk to the thing. So I can say something like, I can just talk and enter the value, period. It's as simple as that. So if I've got gloves on, I don't need to take them off. I can just enter whatever it is that I want to put there, and I can move on. And of course, I can also pre-populate stuff. So here for my perimeter check, by default, I'm saying that that's satisfactory. Some utilities like to do that in order to speed up workflows. Some utilities don't like to do that because they want to have a sort of true assessment of whatever it is that we're looking at whenever it is we're looking at it. Choice is up to you. It's a really easy configurable experience. We can set it up for whichever way that you want to work. Here's some of the equipment, labor, and materials that we talked about a little bit earlier on. You can see that my work's done. The cone is turned green. I've done that part of it. But you have the option with Sedaru Fieldforce in order to put in your time and then record any materials or equipment used. Okay, those time rates can be configured on the back end, and then those material lists are obviously specific to whatever the asset or the workflow type is. But we can record all of that information and provide an even deeper level of granularity around the cost of operations out there. Okay. I'm going to do some hydrant work. And I'm going to use this as another example to show you some of that logic and some of that sort of shortcutting of a process here. Okay, so I'm going to go find a fire flow test, and I have a lot of hydrant work to do. So again, we can see that nice, pretty layout. We can see everything that we know about this asset. We can see its manufacturer and its model and its barrel size and all of that great stuff. Again, I can very easily see that I've got some work to do. And again, as soon as I tap that button, I'm into the appropriate form. Now, there's many different workflows that I can perform against the hydrant, but again, I don't need to go digging around for the appropriate form. It just takes me right there. So what I want you to look at in this form are those three little boxes down the bottom about my flow GPM, my flow 20 PSI, and the gallons used. So to go back to that idea that we saw with Omni, where we were harvesting information from Sedaru outage and other places to compile a report about how many gallons, those 33 million gallons that we spilled on the street. Here's another workflow where it's important that we capture this data, okay? So just as part of my regular fire flow, I can come in here, I can put in some of these values. I could change a port size if I wanted to. I could say that I'm not using a diffuser and I put in a pitot of about that. Now I start to calculate numbers, or rather Fieldforce starts to calculate numbers for me at the bottom here. And if I put in that I flush this thing for about 5 minutes, we can see that I've just spilled another 5,500 gallons on the street. Well, it's necessity. I have to do it as part of my daily job, but we have to report that information back too. Now, I don't want to ask you as a field worker to put more numbers into this thing. You've already got enough to do. So Sedaru Fieldforce can lift that burden off you, and it can calculate, store, and pass those numbers back so that we can report them out in Omni. Here's our labor, equipment, materials again. You've already seen that. I want to keep going down this idea of how we can use logic to make your life easier in the street and sort of shortcut a lot of processes for you. So now I'm going to go do some valve exercising. And again, here's our pretty layout. Here's the work that I've got to do. And now what you'll see is I've exposed some of that logic down here. So these green values, the green text, you wouldn't normally see these in this form, but I've exposed them so you can see what's going on here, okay? And in this case, their validation for the number of turns that we're expected to record on a valve. So here I've got a 6-inch valve, okay? And I'd imagine that I probably wouldn't have anything lower than 17 turns, and I probably wouldn't have anything higher than 23 turns. Even that's quite a window of margin for me. But let's just check that this thing actually works. So if I say something silly like, I only got 12 turns on this, I get a warning. I get a notice that says, well, 12 is less than the 17 I'd expect on this valve. So I'm going to give you this warning that says, hey, you got a conflict here. Is that really what you meant to put in there? Conversely, if I put something wacky in there, like 29 turns, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to say, hey, that's a lot of turns for a 6-inch valve. Is that really what you meant to do? Now, in this case, it won't stop me. I could enter that value, but we can go all the way down and really sort of lock that form down or this particular control down so that you can't enter a value that high if we need to. Now, if I put something nice and Goldilocks right in the middle there, then I get no warning and I can put my value straight in there. I want to take that even further, and I want to go down and show you some of this information that I have hanging out at the bottom of the form here. So our field staff are busy doing the work that's assigned to them on a day-to-day basis, and they're just trying to keep up with everything they've got to do. Now, folks back in the office might be looking at a slightly higher level and thinking about asset management across the entire utility. Okay. Yes, they're focused on the minutia and the detail of this particular valve and what condition it's in, but they're also focused at a 10,000 foot level about how many bad valves do I have, and where are they, and how am I going to handle all of those, and how are they going to impact me if I don't. So as I operate this valve and I collect information about it, you'll see this condition score control on the bottom. And if I say that everything is operable, then that's great. Everything is operable. If I say that it's operable, but it takes some shims to do that, I start to rack up a score. And I can go all the way up and say that this thing is actually inoperable. Now I've got a higher score. But it's not just against one variable. So now I can look at the box and I can say the box it's misaligned, but it's operable. Or even worse, it's misaligned and it's inoperable. And now I get a higher score. And again, if I say no leak, no problem. But if I say, the worst case scenario that this thing leaks when closed, then now I'm really starting to rack up a pretty high score on this thing. And I think one of the other factors that moves in here is if this thing is even accessible. So I'm just going to go all in for the drama here. And I'm going to say that this is probably the worst valve I've ever seen. It's inaccessible. Well, if it's inaccessible, I wouldn't know how it was rounded. So I'm going to back that off, actually. There you go. Proving my field chops there. But I've racked up a pretty bad score on that valve and record some other information. You saw some great validation there. Okay, it said, hey, I'm not going to let you move on until you've given me all of this information that I need. Oh, and the depth of nut, you see? Catching me in the act here. Okay, there we go. So I've done my straightforward valve operation, but we've started to amass this vital data set that, going back to Sedaru OMNI, we can interrogate and begin to sort of prioritize and direct our resources. Now, just sticking with the theme of valve exercising, we talked a lot earlier on about how we can integrate with other third parties. Fieldforce is a valuable tool that we want to be the first thing that you reach for inside of your toolbox. But we understand that it's not the only thing that you're going to use out there. So like Kevin mentioned, there's other equipment that's commonplace in the industry, things like hydraulic valve turners, etc. So Kevin, can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so with walks as being an example, so being able to navigate to a form, being able to pull that up, and then actually be able to see the walks valve machine controller display right there within Sedaru. And then from that point, being able to hit start and control the machine to monitor the turns, the applied torque, creating all of that torque data, and then ultimately allowing you to save that What's also great about that is based on the high torque that we're putting in, based on all the other data that we're collecting, that also continues to put into our condition score, right, that Andrew put together. So if it's difficult to turn, there's extremely high torque required. You can't just turn it manually with the T-bar. You actually have to make use a truck mounted machine, plus the stem is bent and all these other variables. That makes for us to really be able to identify and reprioritize what we need to focus on.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. So here I am back at Sedaru OMNI now, and our data has made that round trip all the way from perhaps initially being dispatched out of OMNI here by Dylan or whoever who came in, turned on OMNI, saw the state of play, and issued out a bunch of work that has or is still being done out there in the field. And then some of that data that you saw me collect now, like we said, comes back into the Sedaru platform, and we're able to get it here through OMNI. So here's a key performance indicator that I have, which is looking at that valve score, the last workflow that we did in Sedaru OMNI. And I'm able to adjust the settings on this really simple, really quick. I can come in here and I can say something like, I want to see something that's only above, let's say, a 20 out of, I think the possibility is 32. So these are essentially, some of the worst valves in our area. And we can see we got about 260 of them that rank as a 20 or worse. And so now I know where they are. And I can visit each one of them individually, or I could just grab them all as a bundle and I could issue some work, and I could assign that to a name or a series of names for people to go out there and undertake those valve repairs and make sure that we're able to sort of stay abreast of some of the worst offending assets that we see out there. Okay. And again, just to sort of complete the circle here, I can see that here's some of that closed work that Dylan assigned out this morning. And I can see who's done it and how they've done it. And I don't just have to look at where it was on the map. I can take this and I can trend a lot of these values so that I can see, for example, how much work that we've got done in the past week or so. And I can see that on average, we're doing about 50, 51, 52 valve activities per day. Now, if that's sufficient, that's sufficient. But maybe I can see a peak or a dip, or I can just know from experience that we've traditionally been able to do a lot more kind of work than this. So maybe I can use this as a justification to either assign more staff to valve work or to go to the board and request more money for more staff to support my crews out there. So with Sedaru OMNI, I'm able to pull in information from every corner of my utility and unify it in one place. I can pull in SCADA information and third-party information. I can pull in information from the eyes and ears of my field personnel on the street, and I can pull it in from completely external bodies to my own utility, like 811 or Call Before You Dig. And it really helps me not just pull all of that information into one place, but make sense of that information and what I see, and then how I can take those important next steps and act on that information. All right, boys, back to you.
Very cool. That was neat to see.
Thank you, Andrew.
I hadn't seen the thing before where we did the condition score, and then being able to kind of see that key performance indicator and how we can change that to really focus on that. And what's neat about that is, I mean, we can basically create like a very optimized PM schedule based on those scores, right? So now we can focus on, any valve that gets a score of 30 and higher, we're going to do those every year. And then other ones, we can do every 3 years or other. So very cool to see. Thanks, man.
Exactly. And as you begin to build up a real history around those assets and those kind of condition assessments, then you're hopefully able to see an improvement in that score overall across your entire service area, right? So you could take that to the board, or you could use that as the basis for a rate case to say, hey, we're gradually improving here. We know what we're doing. We're getting better, and justifying that rate case.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for that, Andrew. That's really big. Kevin, do we want to talk a little bit, just as a bit of a summary on the products we just showed today, and talk a little bit about some of the other sessions we'll be having in the future?
Yeah, so this is, just to kind of throw this up real quick, and I won't spend much time on it, but, really we focused on Omni and Fieldforce today, those first two applications. And, really the purpose of kind of marrying those two, from an enterprise asset management perspective, really from the office to the field workflows. There's so much more, right? There's outage modeling, CIP, and ops that really extend the functionality that you saw today in some very specific use cases like main breaks, hydraulic what-if planning, capital improvement planning and prioritization, and of course operations as well, and energy savings and pump optimization. So yeah, that was it was nice to be able to show kind of two of the core elements, but there's much more that we have in store for you guys in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, appreciate that. And agreed. I mean, really, this is the tip of the iceberg, what we showed today in terms of the functionality of the platform and some of the other core items. So, all right, so we're about to move into question and answer. I would ask that people could place some other questions into the chat. That'd be wonderful. I do have one to get started here with. We got a question from Richard, Kevin or Andrew. It's up to you guys. What is Sedaru's license model? Is it subscription-based, per user, et cetera? Can we get a little overview of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sedaru is a software as a service. So that is subscription-based. That's an annual license, and that is per user. So yeah, if you want to get some more information, we'll definitely have our sales team reach out and provide a personalized quote based on your utility and what you need.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Looks like we have a question here asking a little bit about some of the integrations. They mentioned, GIS. We had called out GIS in the beginning. Are there any hard requirements for GIS integration?
At this point, no. Just other than we utilize an Esri geodatabase. So if you're hosting the GIS services, we would bolt on to a map server. If you're using ArcGIS portal with single sign-on, we have support for that as well. So yeah, basically in support of ArcGIS Enterprise.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. I don't see any other questions. Those of you on the call, if you'd like to submit one, we'll be chatting here for another minute or two. We will get back to it. But in general, I'm going to move on to our wrap up here, and just wanted to say thank you both to Andrew and Kevin. Having your expertise on the call today, and even both of you for a change, was a nice treat. Obviously, I think we showed a lot of different aspects of the system, and was really glad to see the breadth and depth that we could show off today. For those of you that have not attended one of these sessions before, we do these regularly, roughly at least one a month, if not two. And in general, we record all these sessions. They'll be up on our YouTube channel. There are a number of other sessions out there already for your consumption. This one's usually will be up in the next couple days. There's other people from your utility who might be interested in seeing the video of the session today. We also talked about a lot of other topics, specifically outage, 811, valve turning, and there are specific webinars that we've done in the past on those as well. Our next few webinars are already scheduled with specific topics, but as always, we're interested in feedback, particular items you'd like to see us cover, or any sort of expertise topic that we could get into. We do a variety of different types of these webinars, ranging from customer showcases with our existing utilities that we're partnered with. We do sessions that are a little more thought leadership and talking about the direction of utilities, as well as specific ones on specific applications in our suite. So if you're interested in following Sedaru on any of our social media platforms, those are right there for you. And otherwise, in general, like I said, these recordings of these sessions will be available on YouTube. With that, I'd like to say thank you to everybody, and to welcome you to the next webinar next time. And thank you again to Andrew and Kevin.
All right, thanks everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Awesome. Guys, take care.
Bye-bye.